Please rise. Court is now in session.
Love, strength, Fighting for Justice is the podcast. Fighting spelled with a P-A. Serving Philly in the counties and the tri-states. Speak to change people's minds, yeah, we don't see hate. If you ever want to question law, yeah, let's debate.
Welcome back, guys. It's Dave, JJ, and Josh with another episode of Fighting for Justice. And today we're going to be talking about a couple current just sports cases in the law, really. Some famous sports figures. And I'll hand it off to JJ because I know he's got a couple things he wants to talk about.
What up, everybody? Hope you guys are going to participate, enjoy this conversation. We got a couple of stories. We're gonna jump right into them. This one actually I got from you, Dave. Utah football student. I'm not gonna put her name out there because I don't think it's really that relevant. She's a young woman, 21 years old. In my opinion, made a fucking dumbass decision. But what happened was she's a student at Utah University, and she obviously is a football fan. I think that's a fair assumption. And she put on a social media platform, Yik Yak, which I've never heard of.
Me either.
It apparently allows you to make anonymous statements.
Okay.
But she put on there that if her football team loses, let me see who it was to. I put on here who it was to?
Nah, I forget who they were playing.
I forget who it was to. Okay, so she says if they lose, she's going to blow up the nuclear reactor. So a couple things to know about this, about the situation. She is an engineering student, so she has information or knowledge about the nuclear reactor. There is a nuclear reactor on the campus. The school has said, listen, like, we have protocols in place. There are, she actually, like, it's very safe. There's no way that she could have or would have been able to accomplish this. But due to the fact that she put this out there, she was arrested and charged with terroristic threats. As I said, she's 21 years old. She then, they somehow I'm sure that they backtracked it to her computer, however she put it out, a phone,
her
maybe.
IP address.
Right, her IP address. And she admits, yes, it was me. It was just meant to be a joke. So, like, I didn't actually intend to blow anything up. However, guys, again, I'm just going to make this disclaimer. We are in Pennsylvania, so we are going to talk about these things as if they were happening in our state, because every state has different laws. And we don't have the time to like learn every state's laws, right? If you are in a different state and something like this is happening to you, then you need to speak to an attorney who practices in your state. But for this topic, terroristic threats in Pennsylvania, I'm just going to read it. Obviously, you guys know what terroristic threats is, but a person commits the crime of terroristic threats if the person communicates either directly or indirectly a threat to commit any crime of violence with the intent to terrorize another. Second way to do it is to cause evacuation of a building, place, or of assembly or facility of public transportation. And the last way is it says otherwise cause serious public inconvenience or cause terror or serious public inconvenience with reckless disregard of the risk of causing such terror or inconvenience. In Pennsylvania, terroristic threats is a misdemeanor of the first degree, which means that it can be the maximum crime you can get or penalty you can get is up to 5 years of jail time. And M1 is what, $10,000, I think, max fine?
Yeah, something like
that. I think they can bump it up to an F3 if it's the intent is to like cause mass hysteria or some shit like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or if it's on school property. I think there's something
there are circumstances where a terroristic threat can also be a felony of the third degree, which would be a maximum of 7 years and I think 15,000.
15? I think so.
Either 15 or 25. So with those are the facts of those. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, on the simple side, it's a terroristic threat. Now, I don't agree that she should be charged. I don't think there's any possibility. Like, first of all, detonating a nuclear reactor is not even like a real thing, right? It's not a nuclear weapon. So, like, you don't just go in there and hit a button and it just blows up and causes a...
You hit the self-destruct button.
Like, so part of me just takes into account the reasonableness of your threat. Like, if I say I'm going to punch Josh, which I do all the time, he never believes me. You know what I mean?
True.
But if he did, it's a terroristic threat, right? Like if I walked up to JJ, didn't know him on the street, and I said, I'm going to punch you in the face. And he, that's a terroristic threat, right?
It is. I'm
threatening to commit an assault on you, right? And if you believe me, right, I'm angry and I'm in your face, like there's no reason that you wouldn't believe me, right?
Right.
So I think I think personally just taking the reasonableness side, like, and I don't know what they're going to do. I know she was charged. I'm hoping this doesn't turn into something insane, but I guess you do need to learn your lesson. Because, just like we said on this podcast, like, stop putting everything online. Like, everyone, like, I know it's an anonymous site, but they can find your IP address unless you're smart.
There's nothing anonymous on the internet.
There can be.
I mean, come on.
There can be, but
you have to have.
How dumb do you have?
But you have to have, in my opinion, from what I know, me and you can't be anonymous, right? Like,
Yeah.
Dave could be anonymous on the internet.
They would
like,
catch me in like 3 seconds.
Which is why they caught her.
Yeah.
Right, like I know you would need something like a VPN. Now I don't know how it works, but I know what it does.
I mean, if I was going to post this, I would use the VPN and a Tor browser because
I don't know what that is.
Different proxy. It would look like it was coming from Bulgaria, basically.
Yeah,
and they might still find
And
you.
they're still gonna find you.
Like we're talking about me and then the NSA and the FBI. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I know my IT shit, but there's a reason that they're listening to us right now.
Right.
They're better than I am, right? So at the end of the day, like I have no doubt they did a back trace real quick and they called and they were like, someone at your house. It was either your parents, your young, and she had to be like, oh. So it was me because I don't want dad getting, you know what I mean? Like
my guess is she's probably at the school, probably traced it to the dorms where there's probably one of two people, and
exactly.
she was like,
no matter where they traced it,
They caught her in 2 seconds.
right.
So but at the end of the day, it's about a football game. No one should reasonably believe that she's going to blow up a nuclear reactor, but you know what? Listen,
There's crazy people in our world.
No,
like
I get it.
Yeah,
Listen,
man.
I get it. I'm not downplaying it. Because would it be different if she's like, here's what I'll say. She says, I'm going to detonate that, right? What if she says, if they don't win, I'm going to nuke the stadium? Do we reasonably think she has a fucking nuclear missile? That's my only question, right? Like, I understand it's serious, right? But
Right.
I would need some more. Like, is she part of a terrorist organization? Is she part of some organization in the United States that has access to nuclear weapons? I'm confused.
Right, but unfortunately, that is assuming something in you are inserting something into the law that actually doesn't.
I understand.
They don't need to. You know what I mean? Like they don't
I
need
get
to
it.
prove that she has the capability.
I know.
All they have to prove is that somebody, like she scared somebody with her threat.
Yeah, and it may have.
And there are plenty of I am willing to bet every dollar in my account that if she got on social media and said I'm going to nuke the stadium, there would probably be at least over 100,000 people that would actually be like, "Oh my God, she could do it."
No, I get it. There's people that believe the election was rigged, so they're going to believe she can detonate a nuclear reactor. I get it.
Right.
So what?
And because those people are idiots, we could she could get a terroristic threat.
Like, listen, if she gets charged with it and she pleads, whatever, it shouldn't ruin the rest of her life. Is all I'm saying.
Right? I totally agree with that.
And I don't think it
Probably
won't.
I know, but listen.
Where do
it sounds,
you come? Where you come with it, Mr. DA?
I think they charged her. She's going to get some kind of pretrial interventionary program where she does some community service and she does some other shit, and it's going to get expunged from her record, and it's going to be like it never happened. But she's got. I mean, you can't. I don't think you can.
Would you charge her?
Yeah, you can't say shit like that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
I kind of agree.
Like, where's your head at?
Like
where's your head at?
I kind of agree.
You know what?
I'm always on the side of look, I'm never usually quick to be like, all right, you got, but the freedom of speech thing, right, is there's such a misunderstanding in our country that I'm okay, especially because what she said was so off the wall that I'm like, all right, you know what? This is kind of one of those learning moments, and you're young. So what I don't want is for you to be 30 still saying dumb shit like this. You know what I mean? You need to learn right now that just because you can say it doesn't mean you should.
So let me throw this in there because
just don't put it on the internet.
Here's what I'll say though: the one piece that you added that I didn't know, right, is the platform that she used, and that actually changes the analysis for me, right? Because if somebody sees that, one, they have no idea who said it, which causes that public.
True.
So it literally could be fucking anybody, you know what I mean? It could be Osama bin Laden because it's an anonymous post. So if they see a threat like that, then I'm sure there was police that's how they found her, right? Because people would freak the fuck out. right?
That's a
So
good point.
actually taking that into account, I agree. Like the way you did it, I'm talking about it almost in like a joking manner. If it was on your Facebook and they're like, well, this dude works at Burger King, like, well, how the fuck's he going to blow up a reactor? Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that, and people be like, he's always saying stupid shit. And like, I don't know if it rises to that level because they can actually be like, no, that's Dave and he works at Burger King. When it's anonymous, it does add that little, like they have no idea who said it, right? And now they're like, was this somebody dumb or is this somebody who seriously is going to blow up the fucking city?
And now we got to use police resources
Correct.
to track
and
all,
that's
to do
where
all
I'm
this.
going, right? Once you get the police involved,
Track
like,
all
they're
this-
going to charge you because they had to do shit.
Right. I agree.
Yep.
So I agree. Hey,
Yeah,
you
by
know,
the
that
time
was
they
the one
all
fact
work,
where
yeah.
I thought it was on like Twitter or Facebook. Like,
Yep.
hey, man, no, like that little piece does change it, right?
You charge her, you make an example of it, you use it as a deterrent so other idiots aren't doing the same shit. Because if you do and we catch you, you're going to get charged and you're going to take a you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
take a
agree.
hit.
And freedom of speech here, like, listen, we all know that there's certain shit you can't say. And guess what?
And you
Well,
guys
that's-
both know, I'm assuming she has no prior record, but you guys both know she's going to get some kind of pretrial thing here.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Like she's not going to get
Probably, yeah.
she's not going to
Yeah.
get my point is she's not going to get convicted of this.
I would hope not.
Depending on what law
Correct.
Utah has. If it was here and I'm prosecuting this case, I'm giving her ARD and I'm letting her do all kinds of other shit that she, like mental health evaluations or whatever she needs to do. She does all that shit and then she gets it expunged.
Yeah,
you know?
that is 90% of the time how this case should end. You're correct.
I agree.
I would say, and I just always push back on like, yes, we know that freedom of speech it's not like
No, there's
right,
limits.
Like, it's there's not just limitless. We know that, but a lot of people don't, and like that, it always surprises me that people say crazy shit and then just throw out freedom of speech as like that covers me to say anything I want. First and foremost,
It's not
just,
the law.
No, it's just wrong. That's
You
just
have freedom of
flat out
speech
wrong.
until you break the law or you do something civilly, right? Like,
And then let's also talk about it. Freedom of speech isn't actually about, my right to say whatever I want to anybody I want, right? Like it's really about the government. The government is not going
Correct.
to stop you from saying things, right? You can't, in other countries, you can't even say, oh, the president sucks, or I don't agree with
or in
this
Russia,
law.
you can't protest. They
Right,
put you in jail.
right. That is what our government means by, listen, if you think we're shitty, you can stand outside of the building and scream at us. That is your freedom of speech.
Correct.
But if I want to come to another individual and say something, right? And if I want to come to Josh's house and say all kinds of shit outside of my mouth, if Josh wants to punch me in my mouth, I have freedom of speech. I mean, like, it's not really what it's meant for.
No. You can break the law very easily with private individuals, right? I mean, even a threat is a crime, right? A threat of
That's what you
violence,
see.
I should say, right? Just
Right.
and they could be as
Or
vague as...
or to create like a mass hysteria.
Yeah, so if you're in a movie theater, it's always the
can't
most
yell
cliche
fire.
shit,
Right.
but that's
Right.
only for us because we hear it in law school 96 million times. But you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, right? Supreme Court said that. It's also a crime, right? It would be a terroristic threat in this case, potentially, because you're causing a public disturbance, right? It'd be
Right.
disorderly conduct for sure in PA, right? There'd be a lot of shit that you'd be charged with because you just can't do that, right? So you don't have unfettered freedom speech,
Right.
ever.
Hopefully you learn something. If you're one of those people that think you could just say anything out of your mouth because you have the freedom of speech, maybe you should go back and read the Constitution, see what it says.
Yeah, or go to law school.
Or call Josh.
Yeah.
He's an expert.
Stop. Don't just Google First Amendment like you all are going to do. Don't confuse our law degrees with your Google search.
Correct.
Actually, and the last thing I wanted to say about this, because I feel like this is always a teaching moment, okay? When she did what she did, I do agree that she probably meant this as a joke, as a football fan who they always get like sports fans, like the word fanatic is accurate. They are weird. When you're really past the point of just like, I enjoy the sport for entertainment, when it is your team and people are out here fighting in the street, like you're a fanatic, right? She to me is
Go to a
somebody
soccer game
who
in
would,
Europe.
right?
Yeah.
Somebody who would put something like this out here, even as a joke, to me comes from a place of like, all right, you care a little bit too much about your college football team, right? If they lose, you're going to be okay the next day. All right. Like, you're not at practice. You're not doing you care. You seem to care more than the fucking players do. First of all, calm down. Second of all, once you made this joke and mistake and they charge you, a lot of times people are thinking, oh, well, you know what? I did it. And my parents always told me, you know what? When you make a mistake, admit to the mistake and it'll be okay. So they come to her. She admits she did this. She says, yes, it was a mistake, but she doesn't have an attorney, right? Now she's going to the cops. She's not only have you broke the law, but now you're confessing to breaking the law. So now once you get an attorney, there's nothing they can actually do to help you.
Sure.
She had better hope that she gets a district attorney like Josh. Because if she doesn't, if she gets a district attorney that wants to make an example out of her, there will be nothing her defense attorney can do. Mm-hmm. And it will all be her fault because not only did she break the law, but then she went and confessed on herself without an actual professional on her side to say, listen,
Sure.
shut up. You already made this mistake. Now let me help you, try and navigate the system so that you don't come out unscathed.
So
I agree.
I agree. You
Yeah.
should never talk to the police without a lawyer.
Period.
And I'll never change that. Even though I know the right answer in this case is having her admit to it and trying to mitigate, but that should be your lawyer's decision.
Exactly.
Because you're not, JJ is not wrong. We see it all the time, right? Once you come to us and you've confessed, we don't, what are we going to do? Right? There's really not much for us to do.
Try to get the statement thrown out. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck. Otherwise, you're really limiting what we can do. We can certainly negotiate and fight for a good plea deal or a sentence, but at that point, you've fixed our job, right? We can only have one path, so we have no leverage. And what do you want us to do? So that's why if you make that decision with a lawyer, though, it tends to be much better for everyone.
And I'll put this out there to you all because I tell everybody, if you call this office, 610-643-4644, if you call us, you have a criminal case, and I ask you, did you speak to the police? And your answer is yes, or I find out that you confessed something to the police, I am charging you an additional $5,000 because you made my life worse, okay? Just, you heard it here first. I don't want to hear nothing. I'm putting it on all the fee agreements. If you have confessed, I'm charging you extra money.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here.
With that, let's move on to Favre. Somebody else want to take the facts?
Yeah, Josh, you've been quiet.
Well, sure, we can do this. You guys are gonna have to probably jump in where appropriate, but
Yeah, no doubt.
essentially this comes down to a public welfare scandal where a large amount of funds were being that were earmarked for poverty-stricken people in Mississippi, who everybody should know is the most poor, or the poorest state in the nation by a wide stretch.
Yep.
So funds that were previously earmarked to go to neighborhoods to help people either rebuild homes or to move to different homes or things like that were actually ended up getting diverted to use in for other public facilities, namely the University of Southern Mississippi, where Brett Favre is one of maybe the most famous alumnus that the college has, and also diverted to it was another agency that was getting, or somewhere else that he was affiliated with.
Biotech company?
Yeah, the biotech company
yeah.
that you were talking about before.
Yep.
And it also came out through audits that the number was, I think Brett Favre was paid over $1.1 million to give speeches and make appearances on behalf of the I guess the state or some other.
I don't even know who.
Yeah, I guess
Right.
that's who he would be,
And-
because that's who's paying him. So
Yeah,
I guess
right.
It would be on behalf of the state.
So
yeah.
again, it'd be these are taxpayer taxpayer dollars.
It also could have been that weird sham organization that the
TAF?
woman said.
Okay.
The
temporary assistance for needy families.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Well, no, that's the program.
That's the
but
program.
there
But
was a
she
woman
sent.
who,
The woman. Her last name's like Day, right?
Yeah.
She also had her own nonprofit organization. That's who was funneling the money out
Correct.
to like Brett Favre. So it could have been an agreement where, you know, he was supposed to appear at
Nancy knew, right?
Yeah.
So the head of the Mississippi Community Education Center
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
was kicking back money to that's how they're tracing it to Favre, I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Because that's where the communications are really getting clear between Favre. They have Favre's cell phone, like they have texts from him.
Yeah, they do.
Talking about money and how he can essentially get more money. And you know, the thing about this is it sort of continues to come out about this all the time, based on court filings and based on the fact that you have one of these situations before that we've talked about on this podcast where it's essentially a race to the prosecutor's office. It's a race to the courthouse.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's like
I agree.
Who is going to give the most information to the feds the quickest in exchange for the least amount of the most sentencing leniency that they can possibly get.
Have 2 people been charged or found guilty or pleaded?
2
people
charged.
2 people.
Two people
right?
pled already.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and both of whom I think have information on Favre. So again, it's going to be, you know, once the dirt comes out on these kind of scams, and the lid comes off, it's really quick. It's amazing to see how many people flip and how quick they do it. Mm-hmm. Because once they know that the gig is up, and we were already scheming like so much money to begin with that we all could have lived comfortably for the rest of our lives. Our kids could have lived comfortably. We could have paid for college.
Yep.
We could have done all that shit, and probably if everybody kept their mouth shut,
Never get caught.
probably could have walked on all this. Mm-hmm. But because these assholes don't know how to turn it off and want to get more, either they get deeper and deeper into it, and they start spending more and more money that they need to then siphon off more money to replenish their illegally begotten funds to begin with.
Yep.
That's where they get busted. I mean, that's where the bus comes down. And again, the shit gets too big for everybody to deal with, and then people start talking, and then guess what? Now you're all fucked.
I mean, I think
the
thing about money, right, is that like once you get more, everybody seems to have this idea of like, oh well, if I had that kind of money, you know, I would just be stacking it away and saving it, right, or putting it away for a rainy day. It's not really how money works, right? Like everybody wants nice things. Everybody wants to, enjoy nice things. And so as you make more money, you get used to a different lifestyle, right? And then you start spending more money because you have more money. It's just kind of natural. But then when you spend more and spend more and spend more, and you are the person who is responsible for the fund in the first place, right? So the thing that kills me is that Brett Favre is one of the low men on the totem pole,
absolutely.
right? Like he's responsible for maybe like 5 million total. He only got I think it was 1.1 like himself for appearances he was supposed to make, but didn't. There were tons of people who were supposed to make speeches they never made, who were supposed to make appearances they never appeared on, right? We're talking about like $70 to $100 million worth of money that is meant for poor communities, poor people, right? And this is not just, now when we say, minorities are poor people, like a lot of people kind of hear poor equals minority. It's not really the case.
No.
Most poor people are white.
Correct.
Because there's so many of them.
Correct.
Right? So like, but the point is that like they are literally Robin Hood in reverse. Like they are stealing from the poor
to give to the rich
and keeping it for the rich. Like how scummy do you have to be to understand that you are in charge of where the funds go, right? And I think I put it in here because it like made my skin crawl. It's the director of Mississippi Department of Human Services, right? They changed the name to this TANF. I forget what it stands for, but
temporary assistance to needy families.
There you go. And the idea, which again, this is being run by a Republican. The state is who it's run.
Red.
It's red. It's red states what we're talking about.
Yep.
I'm not saying that to say all Republicans suck. No, but in this situation. Right. Mm-hmm. The idea that was being pushed is that we need to change this because there's too many people on like federal assistance. Right. We need to make it so that we can build programs instead of just giving people money, giving poor people money. We need to build programs and all this stuff. Now you can make that sound good until you don't build any fucking programs, until you don't do anything. And on top of it, you kept the money that was supposed to go to them in the first place.
And they'll be the quickest ones to turn around and say,
and you didn't spend it all.
They'll be the quickest ones. These programs don't work and there's too many people, on public assistance. You need to get a job, lift yourself up. Oh, by the way, I kept 40 million of your money.
Right. And spread it around to my friends.
Like, well, I'm pocketing the money that you're supposed to get, so
It's
whatever.
literally they are keeping their poor, blaming them for being poor, giving them no help,
and then taking their
while
money.
stealing their money and being like, why can't you guys, pull yourselves out of the gutter?
Well, it's like, here's the funny thing too. I guess they think they're smart, right? Paying for all these jobs that just don't exist. But, the mafia created this, 100 years ago, right? They have things called no-show jobs. So when they actually come in and they crack down on your business and they're like, yeah, you're going to pay me. I run this shit now. We're partners. They also you're going to create 4 positions, right, where nobody's actually going to show up, but those people are going to receive paychecks, right? It was part of their extortion. So this isn't anything new. And it's funny, even the mafia knew, I can't take, 30 million from them because we're going to get caught. So you got to pay us a normal salary. Yep. But Brett, when it's in government, it's funny. They act like the mob on crack. They're like, we're gonna pay this guy $1 million to not do anything. We'll give $1 million over here. Like, dude, you're throwing around $1 million for people not to fucking do anything. Did you think you weren't gonna get caught?
Dog, I mean the appearance numbers, which is I was reading some of the articles. And some of them I didn't know. A lot of them were athletes though. They were paying big numbers to $300,000 for one appearance.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Exactly.
Who are you that I'm paying you $300,000 to show up? I don't know. Who's probably the biggest celebrity right now?
It doesn't matter.
Kanye?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
He's
sure.
probably the most polarizing.
He'd do it for free.
But damn, I don't want my government giving this boy $300K just to show face, unless he's going to make the government at least some money. Then I don't see why that's a good payment, my opinion.
Yeah, and how does it work that you get paid before you actually do the work? You get
that's the thing though. Celebrities get paid just to show up, right? Because the idea is that if I had an event, right, and I have Kanye West, I can promote, hey, Kanye West is going to be here. I can now sell tickets, and Kanye West is going to sell out because everybody's going to come see him, right? So now I can sell those tickets, $100 a pop. I'll make $1 million if I, rent out the venue, do all those things. But I have to give Kanye a piece because I'm really selling his name, right? Yeah. He is the reason why people are going to show up. So
here's
that's
what I'll
how
say.
Those things work.
However, you pay him after he shows up.
No, they get paid before.
But look at it. They usually will get something up front, then you get paid the rest when you show up type deal. But
man, I've heard too many stories about these people just taking money for these appearances and not show up.
But here's
it happens at card shows all the time.
Oh yeah,
these athletes Iverson never shows up for shit.
Iverson's always advertised for being there, and Iverson's never there.
Come at 1 o'clock, Iverson's going to be there. He's going to sign jerseys. He's going to sign cards. And it's 4
o'clock. You turn on the TV, he's at the Sixers game.
Yeah, well, we don't know where he is.
To be fair, sometimes there are people who will just put your name on shit, and you
of
didn't
course.
even know.
But
it's happened to Jari before.
Yeah.
Where
but here's what I'll.
Jari Evans is going to show up here, and then he'll get blowback of why didn't you show? He's like, what are you talking about?
But here's an easier example, right? If I had to guess, one of the most expensive people to have speak publicly at your event at this point would be President Obama.
Okay. Yep.
Right. Former presidents make incredible money giving speeches. I
believe that.
Yep.
Bank. Okay. Bill Clinton has made millions and millions and millions and millions and millions upon millions of dollars speaking since he's been president. Right. So the reason I'm saying that is they're not even fucking $1 million. Right. These aren't even for somebody like Brett Favre, $50,000. It's fucking Brett Favre. You know what I mean? It's not a president that the whole world and he can't even talk. He's had 470 concussions. He's going to show up in his Wranglers and be like, hey, you know what I mean? $1 million, and I'd love to see who else they pay. You know what I mean? That's because it was a scam.
Right.
It on its face, you could just look at it. You paid Brett Favre $1 million for what? It's fucking Brett Favre.
So let me ask you this, because you're all, essentially the government is supposed to have checks and balances, right?
Sort of, but that's where the auditor.
Here?
I think that's where the auditor came in. But it was after the fact.
So long?
Because it's the fucking government. Dude, you
They
need a
crawl.
license from PennDOT. It takes 14 years. All right? You get it, and you're like, that was a picture when I was 18. I'm 43. Like, it doesn't even... You know, so, like, you think I'm surprised by that? I'm not. Like, that's the problem.
No, especially these financial investigations, they take forever.
Yeah.
They take forever.
It's...
Because you're chasing paperwork and you're chasing bank accounts and all that other shit. Like, that takes...
And
I'm
it's-
not surprised it took as long. I mean...
I agree.
It probably could have been wrapped up because it's the state. I think it's the state doing this. I think the feds are involved, but the state is also... Because the two people that have already pled guilty pled to state charges, too.
Yeah. I
So
saw
there's
that.
got to be local prosecutions involved as well, and then the feds came in and said, "Okay, well, anything that the state doesn't get, we're gonna get."
But this is part
Again,
of my rant.
it's all gonna come out. I mean, it's all gonna come out.
It's part of my rants all the time, and I know you guys have heard it, but you know, every politician that's running for office, they either have one side or the other, right? Like, we need less money for this, more money for this. We need more money for this and less money for this. Here's a fucking idea. Spend money on enforcement, right? Spend money on investigate. Like, actually make sure, you know, that when you send $300 million to a state and it's supposed to go for needy housing, it's not going for a fucking volleyball court.
Right.
Like, and make it quick. Like, don't make this something that takes 12 years. The money's gone. You're never going to... The only person who has money is Brett Favre, and he already gave some of it back because he has lawyers now. So, like, you know, I'm so sick of hearing, we need more money. We need less money. We need more money. Tell me where the fucking money's going. Like, that's just Mississippi.
That's why we have
Right.
auditors. That's why we have.
Yeah,
state-
but
that's
we
why
clearly
have
need
state
more
inspectors.
And like, it has nothing to. It's not just that. You know, we all see cases of Medicare fraud, like all these insane things. This doctor, you know, he allegedly billed Medicare, you know, $300 million worth of fraud. It took you fucking 10 years to catch him. He's got no money. He
Right.
spent it all.
Right.
He's a gambling addict. He's got 19 girlfriends, and then they arrest him, and he's like, "Well, I'm broke." It's cool. So all that public
Guess
money's
I'll do
gone.
my time now.
Yeah, like I'll go to jail. Yeah, okay. Like they're okay, so we all feel great, right? No one actually gives a fuck that he stole the money. Just give it back and catch him before it's 19 years deep. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying. That's my rant.
Who doesn't give a fuck that he stole the money?
They do. It takes them 14 decades.
I think it's more of like it seems like nobody gives a fuck because by the time we catch them, there's nothing to do but put them in jail.
Yeah,
and the
which-
damage is already done. So it's like,
Yeah, and it
course.
doesn't. It makes
You know
us
what I
feel
mean?
good, I
Like-
guess. Like you took 300 million, and yeah, cool. We got 4 years of your life. Okay, so we don't get the money back.
right.
Oh, we seized his house and his car. Okay,
And
cool.
and
You got
meanwhile,
600 grand back.
the problem that you have caught, like, it's disgusting because it's like the people were poor that you were stealing from.
That's what I mean,
anyway,
yeah.
And now that you stole it, like, they're worse off. Now they are, you know, like in
Yeah.
dire straits. Some of them are committing crimes because you're literally stealing from
Yeah.
people who are barely making it anyway. What choice did they have but to turn into stealing? Like,
Well,
what-
like,
you know what I mean? Like how
I see
you
the-
created criminals now,
But you
because-
also see this shit all the time. So I read a good book. It's called San Francisco, right? It's about just the politics, all the shit that's going on in San Francisco, right? They have a huge homeless problem. I've probably talked about it before on this podcast, but, you know, the whole book just analyzes how they handle the homeless problem, et cetera, okay? And how they're not doing a good job, okay? But here's one kind, this is what I mean. The state of California, like, it's, you know, they have one of the biggest GDPs. They make more money than, like, they're ranked like 21st, by the way, in countries, right? So they make more money than most of the countries on this planet, okay? So they allocated something like $2 billion for homeless housing, right, in the Venice Beach area, dude, which is the most expensive fucking real estate, like, in the world, okay? And it was supposed to be to literally build houses for the homeless. So that way there was somewhere for them to go, right? Like, this whole process was being set up. Dude, they ended up giving it to a developer, and they built something like fucking 220, like, condominiums. All the fucking money. Like, dude, there's 100,000 homeless people in LA County. They built 200 houses with, like, fucking $2 billion, and they're just like, it didn't work. Giving housing to the homeless just doesn't work. Let them camp, and we don't drugs. You know what I mean? And that's how it devolved. And they're like, "Fuck it, like let's just let them live their lives."
Right,
And
I think
like,
that-
how's that not a crime?
Well, I think that honestly, this is an important topic of like politics because our country does such a good job keeping us polarized, hating each other. That we always miss what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like we
I agree.
we spend so much time hating the other side, right? Republicans hate Democrats, Democrats hate Republicans, and independents. Like it's just we are always so mad at each other that we don't see what's right in front of our face. Like I read in here that the Republican, I want to get his name right. So I wrote it down. So
the ex-governor, you mean?
Yeah, Governor Philip Bryant. So there was an old WWE, I guess, wrestler, Ted DiBiase. I don't know who this guy is.
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah,
dude. Oh my God! Don't mispronounce
the $1 million man.
$1 million man, bro.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know this bull. He ain't do nothing with his millions for me. So
Ted DiBiase, bro.
All right, so he's involved in this whole scandal.
Is he really?
Well. Yeah.
Of course, he's the $1 million man. Of course, he's involved.
What was he supposed to give appearances to?
I'm sure he was, but he goes on to a podcast and he says that he had firsthand knowledge. He was there when the Republican governor Phil Bryant, that he witnessed Bryant instruct an appointee to cut the welfare funding to a nonprofit because the director supported a Democrat, Jim Hood, in the governor's race.
Got it.
So like. He is in charge of where the money goes and is telling people hey, this is against, the political, fuck if it's like good for the people. Nope. Don't fund that.
Yeah, of course.
That's disgusting. And I don't want to point him out as if like Democrats wouldn't do or say the same thing if it was reversed. Mm-hmm. But that's part of the problem. Like we need to stop pretending that just because you're a Democrat or Republican that everybody, like, you should hate the other side carte blanche.
Or that you give a shit. Here's a good example, right? People trading stocks when they're in office, right? Sort of on the same topics. I saw this the other day, and it's one of the most mind-blowing figures you'll ever see, right? They showed, I'm going to forget his name now. Who's the rich old investor?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, sorry. So Warren Buffett, his fund averages it's like a 22% return yearly rate, right?
Damn.
And he's a billionaire. Okay, he's one of the best, at least he's considered one of the best investors of our time.
I've heard that many times.
So here's what I'll say: Nancy Pelosi, right? Again, this has nothing to do with political sides, but Nancy Pelosi, since she's been in office, has had like a 77% return rate on her investments. Somebody who's not an expert, somebody who's not Warren Buffett, and like when you look at and she's just one. I point her out because she's the famous, right? There's New York Times piggybacked off of, it was like Business Insider. They did this huge fucking workup of just people in office and their trading, right? And how insanely accurate they are. Okay?
Right.
Because they only trade on news that they know is going to be news when they're involved in something.
Right.
Before it's news.
Before it's news, right? And, that just, it kind of piggybacks off what we're saying. Like, dude, none of these people give a fuck about it's about making money. And, like, you can't look at a trading record like that. Like, anybody who knows anything about the stock market, like, if you're that good, if you're averaging 77% return on your money, I don't care if it's $1. Someone is going to be like, Warren Buffett will call you himself and be like, so you're going to sit right next to me because I don't know what you're doing, but you know what's going on.
Well, yeah, but like you're essentially gambling, but you're winning at the house rate.
Exactly.
Like, gee, you're cheating. Like you've got some extra, like something slanted your way. You're not actually gambling when you win 77%. It's like
winning 99% of your blackjack hands. The casino will let you play for about an hour, and they're going to go, you know what, though?
You're done.
Right. We don't want you in here. And you're going to go, what? And they're going to go, we don't know what you're doing, but 99%, you haven't lost since I've watched you. Get the fuck out.
Right, but we can do things to stop that. We just don't, because the people we need to stop it are the ones who are doing it.
Well, you're asking them to regulate themselves.
Right.
Right. And why would they stop? Right. I mean, it's insider trading for normal people. It is not insider trading for them.
Yeah. No, my thing is like, it's time for new blood, though. Dog. Like my thing is like, how long? Like, are we just gonna let these people rock out until they die?
No. I mean, listen, we'll just keep talking. I mean, this is just one tiny example, the Brett Favre shit. It's
right.
And the funny thing is, I don't even know what makes the fucking news, or especially around here, unless Brett Favre's involved.
Correct.
Maybe if you're in that state, it's a big deal. But now that Brett Favre's involved, hey, now it's national news. If he wasn't, what are they going to talk about? Ted DiBiase? He doesn't even know how to say his fucking name.
No, it would be local. It would be much more. It would be much more local.
It's the only reason we even know about it.
Right.
Brett Favre was involved.
Right.
Great.
That's the only reason I know about it.
Yeah.
Is because Brett. And then once I looked in, I'm like, damn, this is really not actually about Brett Favre.
Yeah, he's
This
just
is-
a tiny piece
right.
of a giant
He's just
scheme.
another asshole who was stealing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all, his defense is he didn't know where the money was coming from.
Oh, that's their defense all the time. That's the
Right.
same defense every
But
time.
even when you look at the text, like he's texting
Yeah,
the
like-
woman who runs the foundation.
Right, come on, man.
Like begging, like, hey, can you talk to your people to get more money? Like, okay. So you're comfortable with texting the person who runs this, but you never knew where the money was coming from. Whatever. Good job, Brett.
Do you want to say something, Josh? I know you.
No, I mean, we need to have a deeper, probably political discussion since we went off on a lot of different areas there, but like we should do a pod on just a politically based pod. And
I'll talk
what we
politics
think
all day.
No, I know you would, but what we think would be like we want to talk about problems. Fine, that's great because we got a shitload of them. But what are our solutions? Like what do we propose?
Sure.
Like I think my
about it
thinking
now.
for a long time was we have to have a third party.
Oh, yeah.
We have to have a third. We have to have a. There has got to eventually. There has to. So it has to come from the grassroots.
Correct.
But it's got to be. There's got to be a entrenched It's on every ballot every year. A entrenched third party, like a centrist party.
I was just going to say that.
People that aren't psycho left and people that aren't psycho right.
I agree.
That are actually that can think intelligently and pragmatically about issues that want to vote centrist. Like I don't want an armed revolution, right?
no, I understand.
of white people.
But
I don't want a socialist. I don't want a Bolshevik takeover of the country either.
Correct.
And I don't want to live on a commune.
Yeah.
I want to continue to live not continue to live, but I want to live in a country where I know that there's a certain degree of non-political motivation that goes into decision making.
Well, I thought about
Right?
this. And a
And a
yesterday.
centrist party would every government in Europe has this.
I agree.
a centrist party.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But think about it. I was thinking about this yesterday, which is I'm glad you brought it up. Imagine even if there was 5 of this party, right? If you had 5 members of the Senate or Congress, right, and it mattered.
Yeah,
let's just say the numbers mattered, right? Like they kind of do now in the Senate, right? Like
Of course
you have
they do.
Even. But let's say you had it, so you just had 5 people where both sides had to fucking come to them,
Right.
and be like, "This is why we want what we want," and try to convince them, knowing that once you say the crazy shit, they're like, "I'm out."
Yeah, we're not going to back you.
I don't back you because the crazy shit's not why we're here.
Right.
Right. We're talking about this kind of funding. You're talking about crazy shit. I don't, you know what I mean? And then the only way to get people to kind of come to the center is be like, dude, if you want our vote, if you want this bill to ever pass, you
gotta come
have
holler
to
at
come
us.
to the middle.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
You gotta come
Yep.
holler
And
at
like
us.
it would be such a huge change now just with the makeup.
If we could get
I'm
five,
talking 5
No,
people.
you're right. If we could get 5 senators, and I don't mean in one state, I mean throughout the entire country.
Yeah, just 5.
right.
5 senators to run on a centrist party ticket that get elected and get in that.
Correct.
You couldn't get shit done without.
Yeah, without
Without their
appeasing
vote.
and I don't want to say the normal people, but I don't know what the fuck else to say. Like people that just support some normal shit that are like, why are we always dragging it like too far this way?
I mean, to
or
be
too far
honest
this
with you,
way?
I honestly believe if that were to work, it would. The truth is, the majority of the country would probably fall there.
Would migrate
that's
towards that
probably
party.
Eventually,
where-
they would.
That's probably
Over
where
time,
we really are.
Over time,
I would agree with you
Because we
100%.
only have 2 options, and there's disgusting things that you have to accept regardless of what party you are, what
Correct.
you go with, right? Like there's some shit that you have to swallow that you're like,
I can't believe I have to support them after.
why? Like it's embarrassing that I have to be lumped in with you.
yeah, you're
just
picking
by
the
this
lesser of
name.
2 evils,
Right, all the time. And
Always,
the evil
right.
is always so shitty.
Always.
Yeah.
Like always. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're always voting against somebody that probably has no chance to win. Right. But also at the same
Right.
time, you may not even like your candidate, but you're like, this person can't win. So I only have one choice.
The Republicans are going to really test this election cycle because there's some fucking diabolical, like the guy running for governor in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Mastriano.
He doesn't stand a chance. At least.
But
with the
look,
polls.
but that's who the Republicans are putting up.
Of course. No, I listen.
Because and when you're a Republican in Pennsylvania now, do I vote for the guy that dressed up as a Confederate soldier?
Correct.
At a reenactment, or
who
do I vote
believes-
for but I don't really want to vote for Josh Shapiro because I think he's too liberal. what do you do?
Yeah, you vote for Josh.
You
Shapiro.
vote for Josh Shapiro. Yeah, of course. I would hope.
No,
you
no,
do.
I know. Like, trust me. Like,
But why can't I get a guy that's in the fucking middle? That it doesn't think he's in the Confederate Army, but like doesn't think that like
I hear you.
Like I don't know, man.
My thing is that I honestly believe
the
though,
country's
that, like,
got to get to that point, or we're gonna just
what we need
we're gonna
to
blow
do,
each other up.
I think what we really need to do is we need more people in our age range to start running for those things. Right, they're too old. Right, the people who are running for these things are our grandparents. I love my grandma, but my grandmother, one of the hardest things to do is to convince my mom of something new. Right? She is afraid. She's not, I won't say she's afraid of change, but she doesn't deal with it easily. Yeah. She's not good at change. She's comfortable. She likes what she likes. She's unapologetic about it. And a lot of old people are like that. From their time, like they don't understand our new technology. They don't understand where we're going. We need younger people who can say, you know what, look, I respect what you taught me, my mom. I respect, our grandparents, and we want to put some of where we're going, your values into that. Mm-hmm. But we also need to understand that we're trying to build a world that we want to live in right now with our technology, which is massively different from what you guys had. And we also need to start recognizing that, like, we need to build a world for the people under us so that by the time they get to 30, they can start taking over. Yeah. We shouldn't wait so fucking long to hand over the keys to the next generation. Like, they shouldn't have to be 60 before you get
they don't want to hand over the key. They don't want to hand over the keys, man.
Right, but
and they're going to do everything in their power to not hand it over.
But like, we're the voters, so like we can vote for younger people. We just don't. We don't trust anybody unless they're like 60.
But the problem, I've thought about it a lot, and I wish it was that easy. But like getting through, this is why like a third party is truly the best way.
Yeah.
Right? Because just getting through all of like the structural bullshit on the Democrat or Republican ticket, just to even get on the ticket, like you could have the most support in the world, and if you're not on that ticket, you know what I mean? Because because whoever the powers, you know what I mean? Like they just decide, sorry, Dave, we had in mind that Jonathan was going to be whatever this time, so you're next time. You know what I mean? And you're like, but I have all the support. Right. Because you have to get through all their internal bullshit just to be like, here I am, guys, vote for me. Right. That's why a third party where we're just like, that's the fucking shit you're trying to stay away from.
Right.
Like where it's perceived like it's all nepotism and the only people who get in are friends of friends. And, like it doesn't really matter and who has the money. And so, I see it firsthand. You know what I mean? Like just being involved in a little bit that we are in politics. Like it's kind of a joke. Like it's ridiculous. You can't even have real debates. There's certain things you can't talk about because it's a party. This party supports this and only this. Well, that's fucking insane.
Right.
Like, ideas change. You're allowed to talk about shit, and you're also allowed to say shit's insane.
I think that's one thing that's that's not talked about is that in politics, it seems as though once you have a stance on something, that has to be your stance
forever.
Life.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to grow. You're not allowed to change. You're not allowed to like do what we do as human beings, which is absorb new information and then change your damn mind. Like, oh my God, you think abortion is bad? It should always be that. No, you're
Correct.
allowed to like, maybe I was misinformed back then, and maybe I learned from that, and now I can move on. But you're so like you build up your base, and it's like people only follow you because of this one thing, and if you ever change that, you're afraid you're going to lose
and
it.
you're not going to get elected. That's
right.
the problem.
You look at a state like PA. This is why I'm right in line with Josh. Like for me, that's why I always joke. Like either party, I could potentially support a candidate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Republicans will say the same thing. Like we're not going to take away your guns. I'm smart enough to know that no party's going to take away the guns, right? But I don't favor gun control. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if I wanted, I could easily just be like, I'll vote for every Republican, right? But that they say that once, and then they say all this other insane shit. Yeah. I know that, like, gun control to me is not anything I'll ever vote on. I don't care, right? Because I know the law, I know where it stands, and I know what that means for this country. Like, it would take, I know people said that about abortion, but, I'm sorry, but the gun, good luck. You know what I mean?
I know what you were thinking that you didn't want to let come out of your mouth, and I totally agree.
Yeah, like good luck. You know what I mean? You're not gonna. It's not something that'll ever change. So like,
because it's actually written in the Constitution.
I understand. Yeah.
Right,
so like,
which is what he's saying. Like he knows that the process is going to be much harder.
It's so much harder to ever get the Supreme Court to be like, you know what? We're actually gonna step it back. Like they're not. They're gonna be like, it's there, especially with this Supreme Court. So for the foreseeable future, like that's not a voting topic for me. Right. So like you hear them harp on it, and that's why in PA I'm like, and Josh is right. Like they tend to either be so liberal or so Republican. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. I'm not voting for the Confederate soldier.
Hope not.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
He was at the resurrection. Like he believes in.
Yes, he was.
Abortion has to be outlawed. Like the guy. Like where the fuck are we? This is Pennsylvania.
But that's their nominee.
Yeah, no, I know. Like I hear when he says this shit, and I'm like, have you been to Philly? I bet he hasn't.
No.
Right.
Like, have you been to any?
Why would he bother going? He's not going to bother going to
I was
Philly.
about to say,
He doesn't have a vote there.
No.
Like he's got no votes there.
Like, did you go to Pittsburgh though? You're pretty.
He's got no votes
Same
in
thing.
Pittsburgh.
No,
Like you're
no
pretty
votes.
close. Like you've never even been there. Do
He's
you think you're gonna win saying this fucking shit? Just come here and say it and watch. There'll be no one there. They'll be like,
Some-
"Yeah, I'm out."
Some asshole in the Republican National Committee thinks he's going to win. A lot of them do. Trump backed him, right?
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Trump
now.
backs Herschel Walker too, and he doesn't remember his name.
And he's a fucking elected. He got elected.
No, he didn't. But he's right. He's
sitting. He's a sitting
no
congressman.
Herschel Walker from
Almost
Georgia.
pretty sure he is, bro.
No, he's running.
All right, whatever. We'll figure it out.
We will.
But anyway,
If I'm
not
wrong,
gonna look it
about
up,
that.
but
I know he's running again. He's running for Senate right now. So if
he's
in
the one that
office-
said we have enough trees. We should cut some more down.
correct. Yeah.
Like, get the fuck. Like, are you serious?
I'm just if he's sitting, I don't know. I just know he's running for senator.
Yeah, he's running for re-election.
I know he's
I'm
saying
pretty sure.
insane shit.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah. Don't we gotta we can't go down.
So
We have to have one episode that's just devoted.
No, well, you know what?
That's
That's
just devoted to
We
this.
could definitely get back to that. I want to
Here's
end
what you gotta
that
do,
part.
though. We will have a discussion because what's his name, Mastriano. I wanted to make sure we talk about him a lot.
Yeah,
For the
well,
reasons-
that's-
I was about to say, and we're in the
we're getting
voting
close.
cycle. So like, we're
getting very close.
We'll
Next
definitely
episode.
that
do that.
dude's picture should be on in this. Why we need a third party, and it should be that fucking guy's picture. like,
Nah, we'll have a good.
Yeah, we'll definitely give you guys some good information.
go
let us,
deep dive.
and let us know where you guys think on a
Please
whether
do.
the country needs a third party in politics,
Yeah.
an entrenched third party.
So I want to end
Not the
this
Green
part
Party.
on just one thing I wanted to bring up to bring us back to kind of the Brett Favre situation we were talking about is that, guys, I want poor people, especially, I won't just say minorities, but I want poor people to get out of the mind frame of like snitching, like, oh, I don't snitch, I don't tell. Listen, rich people snitch. Okay? Like the reason why we know all the names, all the numbers, all the stuff is because once one person got caught, they was like, oh, well, I didn't do this alone. Let me tell you about my friend. Let me tell you about this person. Let me tell you about that person. And none of them really tend to, like, even though they plead guilty, they tend not to go to jail for very long. Why? Because they tell on everybody. And when Josh is saying, like, it's a race to the court, like, he's talking about us, the defense attorneys, right? Like, if I'm getting a client that's involved in this, you know which client I want? I want the first one I want the one who got caught first. Because as his attorney, I am going to say, tell me everything. I'm going to gauge how much you were involved and how much information you have. And I'm going to go right to whoever is investigating, whoever's the highest person on the other side, whether it's state or federal. And I'm going to say, I got a lot of information, but I need my dude to walk, or I need at least no jail time or some kind of insane, something, right? So get out of that. Like, I'm not suggesting that you should break the law with the intention to snitch. What I am suggesting is that you should stop going to jail for your friends who is not going to go to jail for you. Because I'll let you know, I'm not going to jail for nobody. All right? Don't do no shit with me.
Yeah.
Because if I got caught, we got caught. That's just the way it goes down.
That's usually how it goes down.
Yeah. So the last thing we want to talk about, we talk about this.
That's also why they can't solve the murder around the block, because no one will talk. But these white assholes that get busted on these huge financial crimes, once one goes, the whole fucking ship ship sinks.
I think that one has another like dynamic to it of like, listen, nobody wants to like snitch or tell in like close communities because they are afraid of retaliation.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know the reason behind it. I'm just using that as
No,
I'm
you're not.
piggybacking
You're
off
not
what
wrong.
you're saying.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know
it
what I
does
mean?
make the police and the prosecutor's job hard if they have no witnesses, right? Like you can't prove a crime if nobody wants to talk.
Right.
So like keep that in mind, guys. Whatever community you live in, right? The police are there really to just kind of like collect the evidence and then provide it to the Commonwealth. But you, as a community member, you have a responsibility to your community, right? If you want a safe community, tell on the person that's down the street. You're going to have to. If you don't want to, move out of the community.
Guys,
Right?
listen, once the mob started snitching, it's all over. All right. So
He runs it back to he figures out a way to spin it back to the mob. To
that's his shit, though.
Every time. I know it's his shit.
if their code
know
of,
it's his shit,
if
but
their
like-
code of silence was broken, then what the fuck? Like, listen, at that point, it's
That
all
was
over.
broken in the 50s, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
So for at least 70 years, no one cared. As soon as they were done, they understood because the federal government goes, you can do life or 0 days. And they went, yeah, 0 days is fucking awesome.
Right.
Let me tell you about my friend Tony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and then that guy's got to spend the rest of his life with a target on his back.
yeah, but I have
yeah.
all their books. They're not doing too bad. He's not, they're not hiding anymore.
Because you don't hear about the ones that get killed
Well,
when they're
that-
mowing their lawn in Oklahoma somewhere.
Well, listen.
Anyway,
to me,
anyway.
Oh yeah,
Let's
that's
just-
that's a whole nother. We could do a
We do
podcast
need to
just
do
on
we
that.
need to do a mob movie podcast, but yeah.
We should.
All right.
Shit. All right, well,
Yeah,
we got some good
JJ's
ideas.
got to watch it all first.
Yeah, it's true.
I've
He's
seen
he's
most
actually
of
seen
them.
most of them.
You have?
Yeah,
Yes.
I like them. I like the movies.
No, he's
All right.
actually. I'll give. He's seen most of them.
I haven't. Listen, I'm
right.
into most movies, anything except horror. All right, like horror is not my shit. Number one, because it's not believable, and number two, like it's pretty scary being a minority in this country. I don't need to watch movies to be scared. Like I could just go the fuck outside.
Nobody watches horror movies because they're scared. They're just
Well, like,
better than
what's
all
the
this
point
junk.
then? Like I don't understand the point of a horror movie. Like
they're awesome.
you're supposed to
What
like.
do I want to watch a
The
rom-com?
point of it is to make you scared. Like the point of it is
It
to
is
scare
not.
you.
It
It's
is-
like it's
Right.
riding a roller coaster. It's the same thing.
Right,
It's the
right.
same-
Like
It's the
some of
same,
the
like-
shittiest movies
I
I've
agree.
watched on this planet are better than what people consider the best movies.
All right, enough. Of it.
All right, like Frank,
He said no.
Shut
like
up, Dave.
Frankenhooker is
Shut
better
up,
than
Dave.
like every comic book movie.
Stop it. Well,
it's
that
not-
I
it's not
probably agree.
Scary.
with. That
I
I
wasn't
prob-
scared, but it's just more entertaining.
Comic book movies have ruined the entire movie industry. But anyway,
Correct.
anyway, can we please move on
We'll go. All right.
before Dave starts talking about Frankenhooker?
All right. Ime Udoka. All right, this is one, guys, that like there's not a lot of like facts on it because it's relatively new and nobody's really talking. So a lot of this is really gonna be like on speculation. But here's what we kind of can put together. So Ime Udoka is a head basketball coach of the Boston Celtics NBA team. He led his team in his first year to the NBA Finals. They lost in the finals, but that's a very big accomplishment for a rookie coach in any league.
Yeah.
Now, in July of this year, the Boston Celtics were made aware that he was having a relationship with someone within their organization. According to reports that in July, when the Celtics were told about it, it was consensual, or at least nobody was like making any kind of bad allegations about the relationship. At some point that changed, and now Ime Udoka has been suspended for 1 year. Now, it came out kind of through reports as things usually do. It got leaked first, right?
Yeah.
So I think Adrian Wojnarowski, who is a reporter, reported it to, I don't know if it was Stephen A. Smith directly or just somebody within the like ESPN family. And so now the ESPN news starts spitting it out. Like there's something going on with the Boston Celtics. There's something going on with Ime Udoka. He's about to get suspended is how it like leaks, but nobody really knows why. The first kind of report I think it came from Stephen A. Smith, which is that like he was being suspended for a consensual relationship.
Yep.
Now I read something that like they leaked it because they wanted it to spin as it was consensual. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We don't know because the parties who were involved haven't said anything.
Yeah.
People came out and started spewing their comments and spewing their feelings about it with no information. The only thing we knew was that he was being punished. Then Boston has a press conference, which we're going to talk about. But in this press conference, they basically said nothing.
Yeah.
They said that he did have a relationship with someone within the organization, which was against organization policy. They made it seem like the fact that he had a relationship with someone in the organization, that in and of itself was against their policy. They said that nobody else was going to be suspended or like disciplined. They said that he is going to have, I forget what he called it, but like a good financial hit essentially. Mm-hmm. They didn't really say what that meant though, just that this was going to cost him money. And then what happened was Brad Stevens, who is the president of basketball operations, he was the coach before Ime Udoka. Mm-hmm. He was on there and he was very visibly like angry and upset. And what happened was, because this came out, they know that there's a woman that he's sleeping with. People, just random people, went on the internet and start finding women who work for the Celtics and kind of, I'm assuming, are calling them nasty names or trying to figure out, oh, is this the girl? Is this the girl? Right? Sure. Which I feel like is common sense. We all kind of know that's what would have happened once this got leaked. But he acts like he's like, I can't believe that people would do this. And like, we need to protect the women in our.
Who said this?
Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens says this. And he's like, this is bullshit that like they are being treated like this. We need to treat them with respect. They've worked hard to get here. And I'm like, dog, first of all, stop with your fake anger. All right. Like if you wanted to prevent it, shouldn't have said anything. Secondly, if you didn't want to talk, you definitely shouldn't have came out on a press conference. Yeah, like exactly. You're here to answer questions. You mad that there are questions now?
Could have did a press release,
Right. You could have written a statement that said we don't have anything to say.
Yeah. Or you could have just said whatever you needed to say in a written release and walk away.
A lot of times they do that. That's what happens.
That and let's put this other piece is that when it came out, when something changed, I don't know if the girl must have like changed somebody says something, but something did change because that's what's making it blow up now. The Celtics hired a private law firm, which a lot of these teams keep to do like investigations.
Sure.
First of all, hate to keep sidetracked, but when did lawyers become investigators? When did that start being a thing?
I see it a lot.
I agree. It happens all, but like if someone like I could imagine like. If they were to hire us, like imagine Boston Celtics came to us and was like, "Hey, our head coach is sleeping with, somebody like
any sports team in the Philly area. You need people to investigate things. Luff Strunfeld.
Like, what the fuck are we gonna do?
There you go.
Like, I'm gonna call them and be like, "Hey, okay, Ime, what'd you do, dog? What happened?
No,
you're gonna go to the girl. Hey, what happened?
I mean, I guess I kind of get it because they, we're good, I guess, at putting together evidence and putting. You really what you do is
getting statements from people,
and then you build a report and you say. Here's what
I don't even think that's really what they do. I think they hire the attorneys to kind of say, look, here is our policy, which we wrote. I want you to investigate. Did Ime break our policy? Write it down for me. How, why, and what way?
Sure.
You know what I mean? It has to be some kind of like legal like the investigation part.
But but part of it could also be confidentiality, which they would have with their lawyers, right? So instead of.
For who, you mean? Who?
Like between the organization
whoever would hire the lawyer.
You have confidentiality because they're your client at least.
Well, the
mean?
top people do,
right?
But
only
not the entire organization.
No. But I'm saying at least their discussions about this investigation, it wouldn't be with like a PI. Like if you know what I mean, they at least have an expectation that this remains confidential. With the law firm, with your lawyers, you know what I mean.
You can't start subpoenaing them to like talk about things
Here, JJ, just to say what you were saying, JJ, so the reason that they hire these firms is because all the potential witnesses in this case are likely employees of the Boston Celtics, right?
Yeah.
So it's in their employment contracts that they have to cooperate with any type of internal investigations or anything like that. So they hire the lawyers to get involved, take statements from everybody. People have to turn over their phones, probably text messages, shit like that. Because if you don't cooperate, guess what?
You're out.
You're fired. So they think the lawyer, they farm it out to a lawyer, so it looks like an independent agency is coming in and conducting this. Because I think you're more likely to get cooperation in that setting than you are from your boss coming to you and saying, "Hey, tell me what happened.
Sense. That makes sense.
Give me your phone." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it if if these people weren't all employees, right? Because if
Right.
they're not an employee of Boston Celtics, they're gonna be like, "Go fuck you, lawyer."
Right.
You're like, I'm not. You know,
Why
I'm
would
not.
I talk to you?
I'm not. Yeah.
Right.
Why would I talk to you? But if my
Yeah.
job, if my continued employment and my continued 6-figure paycheck is
Hinges
contingent
on-
on
yeah.
me talking to you,
Then I'm going to.
then I'm gonna
Right.
talk to you.
Then I'm gonna talk to you.
Be
right.
like, yeah, where do you want to do this? Starbucks. You know.
So there's a
bowling
couple
alley?
of things I think like that. I'm just gonna shoot out some questions though to you guys about this, right? And tell me how you guys feel. Like I think one problem that this could be a learning situation for a lot of people is stop coming out with opinions, right? If you notice in this podcast, right, when we ask questions, we almost always hedge our bets with, well, I need some more information.
Yeah,
Right. Like
of
it's literally like all we ever say is like, well, I need more
That's the legal
information
answer.
before I answer because like I don't know everything. It's like we start from a place of I get what you're telling me, but there's probably a whole bunch of shit that you left out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. In the Matt Barnes situation is the day this came out, Matt Barnes heard of it, and the only thing that was put out was that he slept with somebody. Right. And so that for him to be suspended for a year for sleep with somebody, yes, that seems kind of like too big of a
Seems steep.
punishment, right? Like why that we would have no sports leagues,
Yep.
essentially. Right. So he comes out and says, oh, this is too harsh. But because he's an insider, he used to be a player, right? He calls somebody, they give him some more information. He recants, my bad, I didn't have all the information.
Yeah, exactly.
God, stop making big, broad statements. What do you think about these people who make big, broad statements as soon as they hear something?
No, I mean, I get it. It's the culture we live in, right? You want to be the first. So you want to be the first to comment. You want to be the first to support. You want to be the first out there, because you get the most likes, most exposure. It's just the culture we live in. And it's funny because as lawyers, every time we talk, we always hedge. And like everybody should act like that, right? I wish more people thought about, listen, you can support him for many reasons. He's your friend, but you need to make it clear that like I'm not making a judgment based on what I don't know at this point, because you knew as much as everybody else, right? And then once you found out what happened, then you look kind of like you make everything worse. Even Matt Barnes, right? Just like you're saying, like I saw that, right? His tweets or whatever he did. And it immediately makes me think this is way worse than what the Celtics are saying. Right. Because if you have somebody who's like, listen, support. Oh, by the way, not anymore. Right. I found out what actually happened. And, I'm good on the whole support thing. Right. That you make it sound like he raped this chick. Right. You make it sound like as soon as you found out how bad it was, you were like, the public needs to know that I don't have that same opinion. Right. So just don't do that. Right, you knew you didn't know everything. Like you see a tweet? You were like, "Oh, let me," So,
Right.
guys, relax.
It makes you look like an idiot, is what it does.
Yeah,
That's really what it does.
oh,
Like just, yeah. I would never comment on anything like that unless I had every fact, basically.
yeah.
I'm not gonna put
I think it's
I'm not gonna put
scary.
my neck out there if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
That's the problem. Is
I've seen too many people get burned on that. I've seen it happen in court too many times where people talk about stuff that they don't know and they get crushed on it later.
Yep.
Just be careful about what you say, man.
that is one of my favorite things as a defense attorney is when like cops or somebody just they hear something and they say something out of like reaction, and I'm like, all right, I might not get you now,
Yeah.
but in like 3 months when it's nothing like this,
Yeah.
right? Like it. Which it never is the first like thing, like the little news articles, the news clips, right? Like that's another reason why I don't really watch the news anymore, because it's like you're going to tell me 30 seconds and everybody's going to have an opinion on that 30 seconds. But like even that 30 seconds was cut down from 2 minutes. So there may be multiple like sound bites that got cut,
My new
edited.
favorite
Like,
thing
cut
is
it
no
out.
matter what it is, right? They like now, like if you watch CNN, they have to say, keep in mind, new information is coming into us at all times. But then they're still going to give you that original opinion, like they know what's going on. And it's like, just chill. All you have to do is just report on it and just say, here's what we know. We don't need opinions yet, right? We don't need your analysis on things we don't know. So then 20 minutes later, you'd be like, now that I heard that, my opinion is now different. Okay, well, we didn't need your first opinion because you didn't know what the hell was going on. right? And I'm not blaming CNN. Fox they're all the same, right? It's the race to be
They
first.
need clicks. They need
It's
clicks.
the race to be first, right? Oh my God, it was 12 kids that did a school shooting. It turns out it was one. And then you get, when you do awesome shit like that, you get the awesome conspiracy theorists. Why did CNN say there was 5 guys and the FBI only found 1? And it's like, because you're both dumb.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a conspiracy. You're both just equally stupid. They shouldn't have said that because they didn't know. And now you think they're dude, no, it's just they're dumb. And then you just believe get over it. Okay. And like that, it's the same thing.
Okay. And
you don't
Josh,
need
I'm
to
going to toss you this one. So Brad Stevens, when I say like fake angry, is how I see him in this situation. Because in my mind, what the hell did you think was going to happen? Like, you're not, he was the coach of the Boston Celtics. He knows what, like,
he probably knows this woman.
I'm sure he does,
right?
But my point is that he knows what the media is like, right? Like he knows that what scandals are going to blow up, and he had to know when this came out. From the moment it came out, whatever it was, that the head coach was sleeping with someone within the organization. Yes, I can't act like he was surprised that he just learned there are assholes in our country that were going to
try and
find out, say nasty things about the girl or girls generally. Like, if you're honestly this angry, in my opinion, say the girl's name then. Like, if you're gonna let it out, I get why you wouldn't want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you don't want to protect.
Clause that he can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get that, but then tone down your anger of like, I feel like you're being fake angry.
Yeah, it was politics.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You
like,
can be angry all you want, but
he was just being a politician. He was just saying what people. He's making himself look. He's Monday morning quarterbacking it and acting like he should be like. Well, of course I'm mad. Of course, like how the public thinks he should be reacting to it, right? Like he's reacting. Well, or fake reacting, but he's putting on an act. We'll call it.
Yes,
that he thinks the public expects him to do.
Yeah, and that's
right.
it.
So here's the thing. But here's the thing. Like, how has this dude? How have they not just cut ties with this guy?
Yeah, I agree.
Because what I was telling you guys before off air, like he's got to have some dirt on the Celtics. He's got to.
Yeah, like,
because why the hell else would you let this hang over the team for the entire season coming up? And not just cut the guy loose and say, you know what, dude, you're out of here.
Especially a championship team.
Yeah, a team
right?
that's
A potential.
Yeah, we're not talking about
Right.
we're not talking about the Thunder. Like, we're talking about a team that's actually going to compete for a championship.
They're good. I don't know.
He's got dirt. He's got a text message, or he's got an email, or he's got a phone. He's got something from somebody higher up in the organization where they're talking about trying to cover it up, or they're talking about trying to pay this bitch, or I'm telling you guys, it's gonna come out. Like, there's no other reason. Because the ex-coach's lawyers are talking with their lawyers and they're trying to hammer something out right now. I guarantee you, behind the scenes, guarantee it.
I mean, just following
because there's no other reason why they wouldn't have fired him. There's none.
And also, like, I know it's just social media, so that's why I'm always saying, like, I don't know how true it is, but like we talked about with Barnes, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are now backtracking, and then there's also, rumors leaked like that his agent saying he's unhireable, right? So if you look out there, the news is leaning towards he should have been fired immediately.
Well, they're always going to lean that way,
right?
Yeah.
And I understand,
Yeah.
right? But like, if that's the case, then I agree with Josh, right? Because like, how bad is this? And then, but I guess we'll never know, or like, I have no idea.
My feeling is that there's no. I don't believe that there's anything that I could learn that would fall against that, right? Like, if he broke the rule, he broke the rule, right? And let's not pretend that I'm saying that Ime Udoka should get some kind of leniency or anything. Look, man, you fucked up. You knew the rule way before, right? Yeah. You are the one who did this. So listen, you broke the policy. Fine. They want to fire you. Fire him. That's every job owner's prerogative if you want to. However, if you're going to suspend him, right, as a business owner, the only reason I would suspend you and not fire you is if I intended or I wanted to keep you at the end, right? Yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't make any reason. Like, it makes no sense for me to suspend you when I know I'm going to fire you anyway, right? Like, that's just stupid anyway. So in my mind, they're suspending him now with their mind being like, there's a chance that we're going to rehire him because we know he's good and we don't really care that he did this stuff, right? But if it comes out, if we can't actually hold down all the crap that he did from the public and we'll get a black eye a year from now by rehiring him, then we'll let him go.
Yeah.
I think they are trying to hold on to what they believe is a good basketball coach who may just be a shitty dude.
I agree.
As long as they can, kind of test the waters and be like, hey, how you guys feel about this suspension for a year?
Yeah.
Everything good? All right, now come back and get us back to the finals like you did again. Otherwise, fire the man. And in my opinion, if this stuff comes out, they're going to look 18 times worse.
Absolutely.
Because you knew. And even if you didn't know, you should have known.
Right, which is why right now they're trying to hammer out a way where it's not going it's not going to come out that the Celtics knew, but he's also going to get some type of severance where he's not going to coach again, but we're going to give you like $40 million to just keep your mouth shut. Dude, I'm telling you, that's what's going to fucking happen.
Well, it seems like somebody.
And we're not going to know about it. Like, we'll know little bits on the edges, but we're never going to know. But dude, there's just no other way.
He's going to sign a non-disclosure.
Of course, because we're going to give you $40 million because
the Celtics and everybody's going to walk away and be like,
because you know what, the vice president probably knew that he was fucking this chick and tried to give her pay her hush money or pay something happened. Something happened. You can't.
You're 10 times worse than me when it comes to these conspiracies, and you make fun of me.
No, well, that's.
I don't even think
this is
money.
People,
right? This is business.
This is people and money,
right?
So I'm going to assume the worst in every possible scenario.
Fair enough.
You know what? 9 times out of 10, it's correct.
I tend to agree with him. Like, the money corrupts.
It's people and money.
Stay tuned. We'll see if Josh is right.
Yeah.
So I think that's. Let me see if I had another question for you guys based on that. I guess we kind of both there. Does anybody think he's going to be a head coach again?
So if he's not with the Celtics, no.
Yeah, I can't see him getting rehired
Right.
because it still has to come out what he actually did.
That's what. So if it's bad enough for the Celtics to fire him, then nobody else.
Then no one.
So
like he's.
Let me ask you this. So based on just what they said, which is that Ime Udoka violated the policy by sleeping with someone in the organization.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the fact that if that's as of right now, that's all they've said?
Sure.
So just based off that, from what they said, they also said that nobody else is going to be punished for this. Do you think that's fair? Ime Udoka didn't break. If he broke the rule by sleeping with somebody in the organization, then I think kind of common sense says the person he slept with probably signed the same thing, which says they can't sleep with anybody, so he didn't sleep with himself.
Potentially, right? Here's what I'll say. In the environment that we're in, where a person in his position with his power, he might have something special in his contract that,
He might.
Depending on who this... So I won't assume any of that. Just for him, I think it's appropriate, right? Just based on the culture that we're in, right? Like, I'm not saying
you think that what's appropriate?
his suspension, right? Now, the other person,
sure.
I'm not going to assume it was in their contract or not, right? Let's put it this way. If they didn't have a similar contract, then it is appropriate. If they did and that person didn't get suspended, then I don't understand.
That's kind of my question. Now, obviously, we don't know. My hypothetical is if the person had the same thing in their contract, do you think that only the person, because even if they had it in their contract, the Ime Udoka, I don't think there's any argument that he holds a different kind of power position, right? So do you think, even assuming that they both had the same thing, would you be like, I still only really would want to punish the kind of the boss, essentially, the person with the power?
No, I mean, rules are rules.
Yeah,
so
they both should go.
Right?
They both should go.
If it's in your contract, it's in your contract.
You guys both did this shit. Let's, you both should
you're
go.
putting, the way I see it from a very business kind of standpoint, you're putting our organization, you're making us liable to certain things by your actions. And I'd be okay with firing both of them or suspending or whatever's in your clause, right?
Yeah.
You signed it.
We're in this shit because of both of you.
Yeah, right. Like, at the end of the day, if it is consensual, you did this together, and now we have to fucking deal with it, and you're both fired.
We got to pay lawyers. We got to pay bribes. Right. We got to pay all kinds of other shit now because of you two.
It's just a business decision, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the last idea I had, which is that this stuff happens, in my opinion, because of lawyers, right? Because of lawsuits and what they are afraid is going to come down the pike maybe a year from now if this girl, or other women even, right? Like they're like, wait a minute, okay, he just did it here, but what if 3, 4, 5? What if this turns into Deshaun Watson type situation? Now there's 6, 10, 23 different women all coming, right? And now here come the lawyers, here comes the big checkbooks, right? Because of lawyers, it's like, yo, when things like this happen, shut your mouth, which further questions me why on God's green earth you have lawyers on your payroll. Why are you going to a press conference?
Yeah, here's what I'll say.
Well, it's public perception.
They have to. They have.
Yeah, I mean, they got to come out and say.
Put out a statement.
They can't stay silent.
Put out a statement written by your lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, they can. You're right. Listen.
Which is exactly what he did. He went on that air and he said, I have a statement. I'm pretty much going to stick to the statement. And if you could read the statement, you would understand. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, well, that last part was his mistake. He shouldn't have asked that. But they have to. They're public. It's the Celtics, man. They're one of the most famous organizations on the planet.
I'm so over sports.
It's like something like that happened at the Yankees, and they were just like, nah.
I'm just
over. Let it go.
I'm over sports acting like they're anything more than business. Like, dog, stop trying to pretend that you have a true pulse of like, oh, you know what? I have a bleeding heart for this or like women or minorities. Or you might care, but what you really care about is that money, right?
Yeah,
like stop pretending.
They're not. That's the funny thing. They're not pretending. They don't pretend. It's the people, like, it's normal people that pretend that that's why they're not doing, you know what I mean? That's why he came out and fake cried. Like, here's the deal.
Right.
It's our fault, okay?
Exactly.
Let's just understand that all this happened because, like, you and Josh agreed. It's just money. So all this stupid shit has to happen because they're worth that kind of money. He has to come out and cry, and he went back and probably poured a drink and laughed about it. Like, here's the deal. I don't. That's what they all do. So that's what I'll end on. I'm not surprised that any of it happened, and I won't be surprised that Josh is right. That they tried to cover this shit up. This is why it's a huge deal, and it wasn't. I'd like to believe that it was a consensual relationship, and they are very pissed, right? And they were like, "We're not dealing with this in our organization. It's that simple." Right. I'd love to think that was the case. So, like, we're going to set an example because we've seen what happens, right? When men take advantage of women, and like we've seen all those cases, right?
Right.
You're fired. You're done for a year because we're setting an example. I tend to agree with Josh. If it's already a year, it's fucking much worse, right? And he's got dirt on them, and they try. Yeah. It could still be consensual, but like they tried to cover it up and pay people off and not talk. You know what I mean? Because that's what these companies tend to do. And then you got to send somebody out to cry, right?
And they got to deal with and they're gonna
ask and actually be like, "Do you have any questions?" And then be like, "I'm fucking mad," and then go back and be like, "Good job, Steve."
Exactly. Like, what are you supposed to come out and say?
Like,
well, we found out these people were having an affair.
Yeah.
We don't really give a shit. Do you have any questions?
Yes.
No. You're going to get up there and cry?
Say that.
Yeah. We would all love it if people were honest, but they're not.
Yeah.
Like
no one is.
That's what it boils my blood because I'm like, that's what I know you're like. I'm looking through your
listen,
face being like,
just
what I hear is like, yeah, they had sex. We don't actually care.
I'm going to end on this. Just be happy you understand that because there's a lot of people who don't. Okay. They watch it and they go, Brad Stevenson cares.
Oh, he really does. Look at that. And that's why they sent him out. It's a good-looking young white guy. Oh, this white guy cares.
Be happy
this
that
young
you
white man
understand
This
that.
young white man cares about this black man.
Yes. He's so upset. They were probably friends.
They probably were friends.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
So just, you know what? I'm going to end on that. Be happy.
I'll end on don't fall for it. Don't bet the over. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Till next episode.
That's a wrap.
Oh, please confront us. Questions on the law, JJ, who you call? Come and get your justice. Fight it for justice. Fight it for justice. Fight. Whoa.
We keep on fighting.
Wanna know the law? You know who to call.
We keep on fighting.